What's up, you YouTubers? This is Harpy Hunter 89 coming at you from the Duelist Den. I am currently in Leroy, New York at my mother's house. If you've seen one past video, you understand what I'm doing up here instead of back in Tahlequah. But anyway, with the World Championships coming up, and with it being about that time of year, a new ban list is about to come out. So I decided I would do my ban list prediction video. First up, cards that are banned that I think should come off. First off is Rescue Cat. Now, we've heard people talk about this before. Rescue Cat won't make a big impact in the game if it comes off the list of 1 or possibly even 2. I'm agreeing with that. I don't think Rescue Cat would make a big difference if it came off the list, and I really don't see any reason why or any need for it to still be on the ban list. So I think this is a possibility of a card that might be coming off the ban list. Next up is the Forceful Sentry. This is a normal spell card. Lets you look at your opponent's hand, shuffle a card from their hand into the deck. Now, we do have other cards like that around right now. Cards that shuffle something from the hand in the deck. There's a Monarch card that does it. We got Chidori, which shuffles cards from the deck into the graveyard. This I don't see this really making a lot of play if it does come off the ban list to one or possibly 2, or maybe even unban it completely. You put it up at unlimited to have 3 copies in the deck. I still think it'll see a lot of play. Mainly because most decks these days, they have their own searchers, especially the archetype decks. Cosmos, Harpies, BAs, Monarchs, Speedroids, I mean, Infernies, you name an archetype, odds are it's got 3 or 4 searchers of its own, so putting a card back in the deck, it's not really that big of an issue these days. Next up, Cold Wave. This is a normal spell. You can only activate it at the start of your main phase 1, and until your next turn, neither you nor your opponent can play or set any spell or trap cards. This effect is very similar to Anti-Spell Fragrance, a card that is unlimited right now. Anti-Spell Fragrance being a continuous trap that prevents either player from playing spell cards unless they set them face down on the field. The big difference is this doesn't even let you set cards on the field. And it affects both players. And the downside is you have to activate this at the start of your main phase 1. So when you go into main phase 1, you have to activate this card. You can't activate or set, or you can't play or set 3 or 4 spells and then activate this. You have to play this card before you do anything else. So it's kind of a downside to it. And I don't really see how it will make a huge impact on the game. Or I actually don't see any people playing this at all. So bring it up to 2 or 3 in my opinion. Next, Butterfly Dagger Elma. This is an equipped spell card that gives the monster its equipped to 300 attack points, and when it's destroyed while equipped to a monster, it returns to your hand. Now, a lot of you might say, oh, well, it gets sent to your hand, so you keep reusing it. Well, yeah, but these days 300 attack isn't really a big thing. It may even up, it may get you slightly over your opponent's monster, but 300 attack isn't really that big a thing unless you can compound it with other stuff. I believe there's a combo, burn combo with this card, I think it was. But that combo was extremely slow, and I don't see how it will make any relevance in the meta today. The next ban card that should come off is Royal Oppression. This is a continuous trap card. Either player can pay 800 life points to negate the special summon of a monster or monsters, or an effect that special summons a monster or monsters and destroy those cards. Now, with all the counter trap cards, Solemn Warning, Solemn Strike, Grand Horn of Heaven, Black Horn, Light Horn, all these archetypes that have their own various counter traps to stop summons, this is not going to make a big difference. First of all, either player can use this. So if you play it, your opponent's going to be able to stop your special summons too. Now, yeah, I can see how, play it on your opponent's turn and destroy it yourself when it gets back to your turn. But it's not really an effective floodgate, to be honest with you. So I don't see why having it banned. Possibly bring it up to 1, 2. Hell, this could possibly even go up to 3 and still not make that much of a difference. The last ban card is Bryonic, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This, I think, could come up to 1 and still be okay. Having only 1 won't make it overpowered. Its stats at 2300. That makes it really easy to attack over with a lot of the meta decks, with Monarchs having a minimum of attack for their boss monsters of 2400. Cosmos easily being able to get over it. Burning Abyss with Dante can get over it. This card, attack-wise, has got decent stats, but still it can be attacked over really easily. So you're not really gonna be able to get this off more than 1 turn, more than likely. But what it does, you can discard any number of cards to the graveyard to target the same number of cards from the field and return them to the hand. So even if its effect isn't that great, you're going to bounce all these cards to the hand. Alright, fine, play your Pendulum Scales on your next turn, and pendulum summon. I mean, the only way I see is viable is if you're OTKing your opponent. So putting this at 1 would do really great, and we know it's going to come off. Everybody's talking, I've heard a lot of people talk about it actually. Konami's trying to get their synchros off the ban list. Started with Goyo Guardian, that went from banned to 1 to unlimited. Trish went from banned to 1. I don't see Trish going any farther than 2 possibly in the future, but hell, it's Konami, so anything's possible. And this, you know, it's about ready to come off the ban list in my opinion. Limited cards, we got Inzektor Dragonfly and Inzektor Hornet. Now Inzektors in their heyday were the deck to go to. It was almost impossible to stop. They had access to the Safe Zone, Master Key Beetle combo real easily. Even Inzektors today, they go into Dante or whatever. They would be really great, but you know, they're still pretty, by today's standards, they are pretty slow. So bringing these up to 2, from 1 to 2, I don't think is going to make that big of a difference. Gold Sarcophagus. This card is one of the slowest searchers around. First of all, you activate this card, you banish a card from your deck face up. Then during your second standby phase, after you activate it, you get that card to your hand. Now considering how fast the meta is today, by the time the effect to bring it back to your hand resolves, you're either going to have lost the duel or you're going to have the duel won. Now this, you know, if you're running a stun deck or something, this could potentially be a good card. But then again, you're on a meta deck, you got your own searchers, you know, there are better cards to use. So bring this up to 2 or possibly even 3. Wouldn't affect its play at all. I still want to see that much play. Next up, from the limited list, is Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now on the last ban list, the most recent one, this went from banned to limited. And people were saying, oh, Thousand Eyes Restrict is going to be so broken. You bring it out with instant fusion, you're going to see a lot of play. Unfortunately, you still don't see a lot of play with it. Yeah, you can take your opponent's monster, but people are still opting to go into Elder Norn because you can special summon a level 4 monster from your graveyard and go into an Xyz play. Now you do see this card being run every now and then, but the majority of people still choose to run Elder Norn, and you really don't see this as much as you thought you would. So bring this up to semi-limited, I think would be a good idea just to see if it does see more play. If it does see a little more play, leaving it semi-limited might be good, but it could possibly in the future even go up to unlimited completely. Semi-limited cards, I've only got 1, Debris Dragon. Out of all the semi-limited cards, this is the only card I think could go up to 3 and still not be played as much as people would, you know, still not see any play at all. I mean, this was brought out during the Synchro era, when Synchros were bigger in Yusei's deck. And this card, first of all, you have to normal summon it, you get a monster from your graveyard, but you still can't go into your level 8 Synchro plays unless you've got 2 other monsters on the field, because you cannot use level 4 monsters to Synchro summon this. So even if you bring this out, bring a level 4 out, you're screwed. Granted, you could do this and go into Xyz plays, so I see how that would be good, but you're still having to use your normal summon to get this off, and you have to have a monster in your, or level 4 monster in your graveyard. Now you could go into your level 7 dragon plays with this, but still, who's really going to waste a normal summon to do that when you can just pendulum summon or use your own deck's special summons to get that same effect thing going? Now there are 3 archetypes that are dominating the series right now, and all of the cards I think should be banned are from those 3 archetypes. First off, we're good to go over Burning Abyss. Now there are only really 2 cards in Burning Abyss that I think should get hit. That's Dante and Beatrice. These 2 are what make Burning Abyss what it is. Without these cards, Burning Abyss and PK Fire wouldn't be nearly as powerful. So possibly banning these, or even limiting these, would slow those decks down way more. Now, honorable mention for this is Cosmojo, and or not Cosmojo, is Firelike of the Burning Abyss. That slows your opponent down because you sacrifice the Burning Abyss, destroy 3 cards your opponent controls, and then you get your Burning Abyss effects off in the graveyard. That's an honorable mention. I don't think that would get hit. I think if they're going to hit Burning Abyss, it's either going to be Beatrice or Dante. Next up for Cosmos. There are a lot of Cosmo cards that I think could get hit. You got Dark Planet, Dark Destroyer, Dark Lady, Farm Girl, Scaredy Lion, Strawman, and Tin Can. These are pretty much the cards that make the Cosmo deck. Really the only ones you've seen in Cosmo decks. Any of those monsters could get hit. Then you also have your Cosmo Town field spell. Now honestly, I think if Cosmos are going to get hit, it's going to be the field spell. If they get 2, it's going to be Dark Destroyer in the field spell more than likely. But if they only get one hit, it has to be the field spell, at least down to limited. Why? Because the field spell, if it's destroyed, you can search out another copy of the field spell. That's what makes Cosmos so dangerous, the fact they can keep recycling their field spells. Add into that you can use this to special summon a banished or to get a banished Cosmo to your hand, so you can keep recycling your Cosmo combos. That makes it highly dangerous. Then, if just to make matters worse, if you have a brick hand, for some reason, if you open with a brick hand and have this, or your opponent's stalling you out and you need something else, this lets you shuffle any number of Cosmos from your hand in the deck, then draw that same number of cards. So this Cosmo Town is extremely powerful. Now, an honorable mention for Cosmos is Cosmojo. That card I don't think will get hit, at least not right now, if ever. It is a dangerous card, but I don't think it's ban worthy or worthy of getting hit on the ban list. Next up is, of course, Monarchs. Monarchs are dangerous right now. They are topping events left and right. Now, as far as Monarchs are concerned, you're not going to want to hit their monsters. That's not where the problem with Monarchs is. The problem is with their spell and traps. First of all, you've got Pantheism of the Monarchs. This lets you draw 2 cards and you banish it from the graveyard to reveal 3 Monarch spell or traps from your deck, and your opponent gets to pick one of them to add to your hand. And it's not random. Your opponent actually gets to look at them before they add them to your hand. Now, if you have 3 copies of the same card you want in your hand, like 3 copies of your field spell, for example, you choose all 3 copies of your field spell, and you're pretty much choosing which card you add to your hand. Next up is Tenacity of the Monarchs. This one lets you add a Monarch spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, except Tenacity of the Monarchs. So again, if you get this, you're searching out another one of your spells, lets you search out another spell, lets you search out another spell. I mean, this thins the deck out a lot. Next up is Monarch Storm 4th. Now this card could get hit mainly because it doesn't target. It's a quick play spell. So your opponent plays their boss monster, activate this. Not only are you getting a tribute summon on your opponent's turn, but you're getting rid of your opponent's boss monster without any targeting effect, without destroying it, without banishing it. So that's highly dangerous. But the 3 main ones that I think are going to be the primary targets are March of the Monarchs, Return of the Monarchs, and the field spell Domain of the True Monarchs. Now the first 2 are continuous, the third one is the field spell. What's dangerous about all of these is that all 3 of these prevents either player from special summoning from the extra deck. Now with Monarchs, 99% of the time, you're not going to be running an extra deck because you don't need it because of these cards. So it's really only hurting your opponent. Now what I hate about this, Monarchs, I would love Monarchs except for these 3 cards. Now if they only had 1 of these, that wouldn't be too bad. But you can have 3 copies of each of these in your deck at the same time right now. So that's 9 cards out of 40 main board cards. That's potentially 25% of your deck, 1/4 of it, that stops your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck. And these days, that's what decks do. You got Pendulum decks, you got Xyz decks, you got Synchro decks, you got decks that fusion summon. You know, that just shuts down pretty much everybody. And with 9 copies of these cards, unless you're running 9 different ways to destroy spell and trap cards, which right now the only deck that consistently gets past all 9 of these is Harpies. And I say that from experience because my Harpy deck is my easiest deck to get around with these guys. Mainly because I can put my field spell out, summon multiple Harpies in a turn, pop however many of these cards they've got on the field at the time. My Harpies can get around this really easily, but unless you're running something like Harpies that has a shit ton of spell and trap removal, then you're pretty much screwed against Monarchs. The only non-archetype specific card that I think needs to get hit is Anti-Spell Fragrance. Like I said, Cold Wave right now is banned, and it's pretty much a weaker version of Anti-Spell Fragrance. Again, it does affect both players, but if you're not running Pendulums, and you got this card in your deck, or if you're running Pendulums, play your Scales, Pendulum Summon, then activate this, your opponent's pretty much screwed if they're running Pendulums. Again, this card can slow down Monarchs, it can slow down Cosmos, but it cannot stop them, really. So that could be the argument for why it doesn't get hit, but mainly it needs to be hit because of these. Well, that's my ban list prediction video. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments in the box below. Let me know what you think about your ideas for the ban list. Until next time, this is Harpy Hunter 89 signing off.